Friends, today you will see unusual and sometimes even shocking vintage photos with interesting stories. Don't forget to subscribe. Between 1854 and 1856, French neurologist Guillaume Benjamin Amand Duchesne de Boulogne conducted a series of electrophysiological experiments to evaluate how facial muscles form different expressions. For his research, he used inhumane methods. He tied up unfortunate patients and used electric shocks on them to obtain the necessary data. This vintage Halloween costume was discovered on a farm in Camp Dix, New Jersey, USA in 1917. Undoubtedly, he causes some kind of primal fear and definitely looks more terrible than a ghost from a sheet. This makeshift prison cell is indeed a symbol of the horrors that befell the Salem witches. It was in such cells that the accused women spent their last moments before their execution. Between 1692 and 1693, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft, and 19 of those found guilty were sentenced to death. This photo looks like an ordinary family portrait, and everything would have been fine if it weren't for the fact that this picture was taken just a few days before the father of the family, Patriarch Charlie Lawson, second from right, killed all his relatives depicted in the photo on Christmas Day, 1929. Only 16-year-old Arthur, left, managed to escape. This photo of the mouth of a leatherback turtle slightly resembles the mouth of an alien from a famous horror movie. However, unlike him, the picture is quite real. This is exactly what the mouth of the largest turtle of its kind looks like, which instead of teeth has dozens of papillae lining the mouth, esophagus, and intestines of the animal. Between 1940 and 1956, George Metesky, nicknamed the Mad Bomber, terrorized New York City by planting bombs in public places. He is responsible for more than 30 explosions that injured 15 people. At the same time, Metesky did not just plant bombs. He wrote mocking letters to local newspapers until 1957, when he was arrested and placed in a psychiatric hospital. The murders of American serial killer Ed Gein in the mid-1950s were so horrific that they formed the basis for horror films such as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Psycho. A man from Plainfield, Wisconsin, robbed graves, killed innocent women, and made furniture and clothes from their body parts. Moreover, they found out about this only after his arrest in 1957, when the police searched his house and found mutilated bodies, bowls made of skulls, a lampshade made of a human face, and gloves made of human skin. This photo shows Michael Rockefeller, who was the son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who later became Vice President of the United States. In principle, Michael had everything, but his soul demanded adventure. And in the early 1960s, the young man went on an expedition to Papua New Guinea. But the locals turned out to be not very friendly. Representatives of the Papuan Asmat people are famous cannibals, so after a fun ritual, they beheaded and ate the unfortunate Michael Rockefeller. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped the atomic bomb, KID, on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. After this terrible event, literally nothing remained of many of the 80,000 victims but nuclear shadows. The explosion heated the air to a temperature of 5,000 degrees Celsius, which simply incinerated people and completely discolored the surfaces around them. As a result, the silhouettes of dead people remained on the surviving walls and ground. These were the shadows cast by their bodies at the last moment. In January 1959, a group of young tourists went on a ski trip to the northern Urals in the vicinity of Mount Holachakal in the north of the Sverdlovsk region. As you know, this sortie turned into a mysterious tragedy. The search group set off along the route when the tourists did not arrive at the right time at the endpoint and found the members of Dyatlov's group dead. Moreover, the bodies were in a strange position at a distance from each other and had very serious injuries. It is still a mystery what happened to the students. This is one of the last photos taken by tourists before the incident. Photographer Aaron Huey's feet dangle from the edge of the Great Gorge of Alaska's Ruth Glacier, the deepest glacial gorge in the world. The hole is 1,127 meters deep. In October 2013, this wind turbine in Piet de Wit, the Netherlands, suddenly caught fire due to a short circuit during a routine technical inspection. Unfortunately, at that moment, there were two engineers on it, aged 19 and 21, who were trapped at an altitude of 79 meters. In the photo, they are hugging each other, saying goodbye to each other in their last moments of life. This 1970 photo shows a young girl from California, Jean Wiley. She is also known by the name Wild Child because of her tragic fate. All her life, her father cruelly abused her, keeping her in a makeshift straitjacket and tying her to a children's toilet in a locked room for the whole day. When she made a sound or did something he didn't like, he reacted extremely strangely. He growled and bared his teeth at her like a dog. In these harsh conditions, Wiley never learned to walk or speak. When this creepy photo was taken in the hospital right after she was rescued, her life in a series of brutal institutions was just beginning. Her whereabouts are unknown today. This photo was taken in 1916 in the trenches during the First World War. It depicts a shell-shocked soldier who witnessed the horrors of battle. In the modern world, a fighter's condition would be called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But then experts did not realize how serious psychological trauma such events cause people. Hundreds of thousands more soldiers did not get into the photo, but had the same crazy look after the experience. In 1967, the Soviet Soyuz 1 spacecraft went into Earth orbit to conduct flight tests. Its pilot was cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov. However, even during testing, the ship showed several malfunctions, which could not but be alarming. Nevertheless, they did not cancel or postpone the launch. Unfortunately, this turned into a disaster. Already during the completion of the flight, at the final stage of the descent of the ship to Earth, the parachute system failed. The main parachute did not come out, and the lines of the reserve parachute twisted due to rotation. As a result, the Soyuz 1 crashed into the ground at high speed in the Orenburg region and caught fire. This creepy photo shows the remains of cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov. One of the amazing military historical photos, a woman in a gas mask pushing a closed wheelchair. During World War II, German planes dropped gas bombs on Great Britain. Many citizens constantly carried gas masks with them. As one of the motivational posters said, "Stay calm and keep it up." There's a scary story behind this cute and funny photo. The 1975 photo shows the brothers Michael and Sean McQuicken, and the author of the photo is their sister, Mary. She decided to capture her brothers on top of Morro Rock in Sequoia National Park in California. 2 seconds after the picture was taken, they were struck by lightning. Only Michael was left alive, pictured on the right. It is unlikely that the photographer could have suspected something in the hero of his terrible picture. He knew that he was photographing Mr. John Wayne Gacy, an exemplary family man, a talented clown, and generally a wonderful person. John not only entertained kids under the name of Pogo the Clown, but also ran his own construction business, joined the Democratic Party of the USA, became treasurer of a charitable society, and engaged in public activities. No one knew that this good-natured fat man had already served time for sexual harassment of teenagers. Until December 11th, 1978, 15-year-old Robert Pist disappeared, who was last seen in Gacy's company. The teenager's mother said that he had gone to get a job with Gacy and had not returned. Police have obtained a search warrant for Gacy's home. The police went down to the clown's basement and found the bodies of 29 young men and teenagers. The total number of victims of the clown maniac is 33 people. This little Polish girl's name is Tereska, and her name is written in the upper corner of the board. This heartbreaking and creepy photo was taken not at a school, but at a shelter for children with mental problems in Poland in 1948. Tereska painted the house. This is exactly how a girl who grew up in a concentration camp imagines a house in the form of a coil of barbed wire. French woman Blanche Monnier spent 25 years imprisoned in her own room, without light, naked, half-starved among her own excrement, and in the company of rats, with whom the prisoner shared bread. This photograph from 1901 is creepy in itself, but its story is even scarier. When the police, having received an anonymous letter, searched the house of Blanche's parents, they found the prisoner in such a state. As it turned out, the very young Blanche was punished by her parents. They locked her in a room so that she would not connect her life with a man from another social circle. Blanche Monnier was released when she turned 49. She was terribly exhausted and had lost her mind. And although her physical health eventually recovered, Blanche's psyche never returned to normal. Blanche's former lover, who had imprisoned her, died 16 years before her release. Blanche Monnier's mother was sent to prison, where she soon died of heart failure. This man is the last of the 28,000 Jewish residents of Vinica who were shot by the Nazis. At this moment, a man stands on the edge of one of the many moats filled with the dead bodies of his tribesmen. The longer we look at this photograph, the harder it seems to us to understand the incredible horror of what is happening. Everything that is happening in the head of this man, and even more so, in the heads of his executioners. What's it? Shooting a movie? An erotic photo in a special style? The woman in the picture seems to be scared. But the situation is even worse than it seems at first glance. The woman in the picture is named Judith Dahl, and the photographer is Harvey Glatman. Glatman was a psychotic killer who posed as a photographer to his victims and lured them to him, luring them with promises of a modeling career. Then he raped them, tortured, and killed them. This photo is from the police archive. In it, perhaps Judith still believes that Glatman will let her go after a terrible photo shoot. At first glance, the photo seems to be filled with debris. It takes you a moment to realize that these are all human bodies. The photo shows an overhead view of Johnstown, the community of the religious sect Temple of the Peoples in Guyana. On November 18th, 1978, at the call of community leader Jim Jones, 918 people committed suicide here. This photo was one of the first to capture the horrific massacre in Johnstown. These photos are the only evidence of the atrocities of the Beast from Jersey. This monster has been terrorizing the city at night for 10 years. He abducted children from their beds while they slept and killed them, sacrificing them to Satan, whom he considered his master. When the identity of the killer was revealed, it turned out that in his day life, he was a normal person, a friendly neighbor, and a caring family man. The exact number of his victims is still unknown. This photo was taken in the Odessa catacombs. In 2005, a group of young people decided to celebrate New Year's Eve here, and in the midst of the holiday, one of them got lost. The search in the pitch darkness yielded no result. The body was discovered only many months later. The photo shows the moment when the missing man was finally discovered. 3 teenage girls decided to take a selfie standing on the tracks next to a passing train and were so carried away that they did not notice that the second train was approaching them from the other side. The light of its headlights is captured in the upper right corner of the photo. All 3, the Webster sisters and their friend, were killed. 2 trails in the snow. This photo was taken by Kurt Demberger after his companion, the outstanding mountaineer Hermann Buhl, fell into a chasm on the Himalayan mountain Chagolis. Buhl followed Dimberger and left the path for a moment, and a block of ice collapsed under his feet. His body was never found. This photo of John Pierpont Morgan and Leah Graff, performers of the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, made a sensation out of her in the blink of an eye, but the attention oppressed her, and Graff returned home to Germany. There, after some time, she was arrested because she was Jewish and sent to Auschwitz. Her fate is unknown, but it is believed that the Count and her family died in a concentration camp. The guy dived to his girlfriend, who was inside their underwater room in Tanzania, and proposed to her, showing her a note and a ring. He died before he could swim to the surface. The text of the note: I can't hold my breath for long enough to list everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day. Photo of serial killer Christopher Wilder during the 17 magazine fashion show at the mall in Las Vegas, April 1st, 1984. Wilder abducted and killed 17-year-old Michelle Korfman, whom he met at this fashion show. She is in the foreground in the photo. A teenager has gone missing while walking on the Big Island of Hawaii. He sent some photos of the landscape to his family while he was walking. When he did not return home, his family noticed that in the photos he sent, someone was hiding in the bushes. The Cooper family moved to a new house in Texas. They wanted to celebrate a housewarming party with their family. My father decided to take a family photo. When he took the picture, everyone continued to relax and chat at the table. But after the photo was developed, it turned out to be the body of a man hanging from the ceiling. When the family was at the table during the celebration, no one saw or felt the presence of anyone else. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium was opened in 1910. It was a hospital for tuberculosis patients. About 10,000 people died in the hospital. The exact number of deaths is unknown. To this day, dead bodies are found near the sanatorium, and somewhere among them lies the body of Nurse Mary Lee, who, according to rumors, contracted tuberculosis while working and stayed there forever. In the photo, you can see the ghostly figure of Mary Lee. They say she still wanders the corridors of the hospital. Anne Hodges is the only victim of the meteorite today. She was napping on the couch at home when a piece of space rock broke through the window, ricocheted off the radio, and hit her in the thigh. Anne found herself in the center of a real pilgrimage of journalists, which, coupled with a strong blow that left a huge bruise on the woman's thigh, led to a nervous breakdown. However, Anne recovered quite well over time. The horror story of Amityville is one of the most famous. There is a house in the city that is famous throughout the country because of the real horror that once went on inside it. One day, a man killed his entire family, and at the same time claimed that at the time of the murder, he was possessed by a demon inhabiting the house. The picture is considered proof that the ill-fated house is inhabited by the ghosts of the murdered. The author of the photo claimed that he photographed an empty room. Friends, please support me with a subscription and a like, and also write your congratulations in the commentaries. Thanks.